Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our weekly update. I'm standing outside of the Board of Education in Pleasant Hill, where Lynn Mackey, our Superintendent of Education for the county, just had a meeting that I was part of with all the superintendents in Contra Costa County, which was wonderful to talk about our challenges with this administration to help kids and to help teachers and the providers, the people we care about, who care for our kids, and how important that is. So I love this little statue is for Lynn Mackey's predecessor, a good friend, Joe Ovick, who unfortunately has passed away. But that's why we're here, and that has been part of our week. We also visited, as part of our business listening tour, a couple businesses in Pleasant Hill, met with the owners there. We do this all around. A few weeks ago, we did it in Danville. As a former successful small business owner, um, I very much want to hear from businesses, particularly small businesses, because that's what I did. It's very hard to own your own small business. There's a lot that every level of government can do to help small businesses succeed, because they're the cornerstone of our economy. In spite of the fact about how big companies have grown and dominated our economy, it's the small individual entrepreneurs like I visited this past week in Pleasant Hill, sat down and talked to them about their struggles. And much of their struggles relate to both big problems, tariffs, and how that impacts them in terms of their purveyors, how they get their product. But one of the big things for small retailers in particular is the cost of living in terms of fixed household costs have grown so much since I started, so you don't have as much discretionary income. All of us don't. So we have to expand that. We know how to do that. You have to balance out the concentration of wealth in this country that is in the hands of very few, very, very wealthy Americans and large corporations. In our history, we've done things to help small businesses and also keep businesses as an important part of our economy, but realize that when they're predatory and impersonal and unethical, we've got to stand up to them. So meeting with small businesses is just wonderful, and this was as well. Spent a good deal of time with Empowered Aging, wonderful group, and with our ombuds folks going out and looking at a facility, talking more broadly about as our population ages, uh, where do we have the resources to help people age in dignity at home with their friends and family? But when they can't, how do we get them in facilities with more intensive services? And we don't do it. We don't spend enough money on this. Our culture in America, for all of our strengths, one of our weaknesses is respect for people who have lived a long and full life and returning the investment they've spent, not just in themselves and their individual lives, but we all benefited from their work life. To see people warehoused and not given the services that they richly deserve and in other developed countries they get is disturbing. So we're going to keep fighting for those folks to get more resources as people live longer and we know more about how aging affects us physically and mentally and emotionally. Why don't we get those services to them? It costs very little compared to the value we get from our parents, our grandparents, and it should be part of our culture. As I've said, in other cultures in the developed world, they do it, and it's a great return on investment, and it's the moral right thing to do. Went on a ride along with the Contra Costa Probation Department, which was wonderful. As a former temporary deputy probation officer when I was young and someone who considered a career there, probation, particularly in juvenile, which I was at, is a key component of public safety, but also getting the people the services they need so they don't have to be adjudicated, so they don't get involved in criminal behavior. And if they did, how do we get the services they need so that they avoid it in the future and don't repeat? Contra Costa has a remarkable probation department, and I'm proud to have been part of the development of that. So kids get the services they need, and I'm proud of the fact that one outcome is our juvenile hall that I was instrumental in getting built is only 30% occupied because we don't have as many criminal defendants in juvenile court. So that was wonderful to share their experiences and actually go on a ride along for them when they were meeting with some of the people who were under adult probation. So I have a great affection for Contra Costa County Probation. They do a wonderful job in difficult circumstances. And again, they don't have enough funding to protect you, but also to help people avoid being institutionalized and avoid getting adjudicated and arrested. And then lastly, just here, with the county superintendents. A lot of our work as a senior member of the education committee is helping people who are taking care of our kids, and helping education is a priority for me. How do we make sure that young people get the right start in life so they can have full and wonderful lives for themselves, for their family, for their community, and for this country? Building stronger generations through our education system is all about the future of America, and I will never stop working with colleagues like the superintendents here in Contra Costa to do the work we need to do to help kids live full and happy lives, which is the future of America. All this partisan stuff that we argue about, nothing's more important for the future of this country than investing in public education and making it better. We don't invest enough. And if we invested more like other developed countries, we'd have better outcomes. But we have to keep working on it. And efficiencies are important. I don't argue against that. Just throwing more money isn't the answer, but giving enough money so teachers, superintendents, administrators, and families have the resources they need for the future. I'm very proud of the fact that I'm one of the few people in Congress who are recognized nationally by the Parent Teachers Association as an educator, supporter, and advocate in the Congress. So we've had a great week. I go back next week after Labor Day, and we start back at the work of trying to get the Congress to work together, Republicans and Democrats, and where we have to fight, we'll fight, and we will, and we do. This administration and the people who enable this behavior right now in this country, we're going to fight like hell, like we have been. But where we find opportunities to work together to get us back on track for the country, all of the country, Republicans and Democrats, that's my greatest concern, and it starts with kids. So thanks so much for joining us. As always, feel free to contact us. And I love this statue for my friend, Joe Ovick, who was a wonderful educator and superintendent.